Next bill on the calendar is Senate File 4091. Oh, the clerk will report the bill.
Senate File 4091, number 1 on the calendar for the day, an act relating to state government, appropriating money for commerce, jobs, and economic growth, the fourth engrossment.
Representative Knorr, would you like to put the House language in before you present your bill?
Yes, Madam Speaker.
The clerk will report the amendment.
Knorr moves to amend Senate File number 4091, the fourth engrossment as follows. The amendment is coded DEA 4355.
To the amendment, Representative Knorr.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. Chair Marquardt, the $200,000 that you asked for the billboards to welcome people from outside the state will be funded through the Jobs Bill. Madam Speaker and members, Minnesota is the first in the nation when it comes to 5-year business survival rate. Minnesota is also the first in the nation when it comes to Fortune 500 companies per capita among the top 30 metro areas. I think we are also the first in total labor participation. We are around at 68.1, and the goal is to go to 70% as it was pre-pandemic. We are the best state for families and children. The unemployment rate for the state of Minnesota at this point is below 2.5%. One of the lowest ever the unemployment data reported in the state. That's not the whole story. Many businesses and working families and workers took extraordinary measures to make ends meet. And they're still fighting to get back to where they were. Madam Speaker and members, it's clear no one, no worker, no business creator or job creators should be in that position. I would like to start by noting that today is part of the Small Business National Week. For that, we must continue to create an environment where small businesses, entrepreneurs, and startups can flourish, grow, create jobs. Simply put, small businesses are moving forward when we invest in small businesses, and our economy will continue to grow. Madam Speaker and members, small businesses and workers and families are valued in this bill. We must continue to invest in workers at the same time for families. This is essential and critical for our state. Madam Speaker and members, this bill provides an opportunity for equitable economic recovery. This bill establishes a revolving loan program to ignite economic growth. It provides a great opportunity to credit-worthy businesses or individuals who are unable to access conventional or traditional loan lending market. Madam Speaker and members, this program is at zero or low interest rate. This will allow small businesses to have access to capital which they do not have right now. Within this program, we establish community business so that employees, co-ops, and similar groups can have access to capital to create wealth. Madam Speaker and members, this is a great opportunity to invest our resources in communities that have been marginalized and left behind, such as low-income communities, BIPOC, women, veterans, and also people with disabilities. We also create a unique program for emerging developers for so many who have been left behind when it comes to this industry. This is for the first time that we're saying we value you, we want you, and we want you to be part of our development in our state, for women, low-income individuals, and also for individuals with disabilities. We're providing a revolving loan program so that they can engage in an industry that is dominated mostly by white male. Likewise, we are investing in redevelopment program so that the local units can have access to funding to support small businesses. Madam Speaker and members, we continue to invest in communities through the Targeted Community Project Grant Program. We continue to fund the Main Street Revitalization Program. Madam Speaker and members, some businesses were impacted the most, such as hospitality industry, personal care industry, indoor recreational industry. So we provide a unique program, which you'll hear soon from my colleague. This is the Small Business Recovery Grant Program to provide grants for those small businesses who are in need at a time that we know we want them to continue to survive and thrive. Within this bill, we include the Canadian Border Relief Fund. Members, we know that when the border was shut down, many businesses along the border were not able to continue to do their businesses, so we continue with that funding. We also know that in order to have an equitable economic recovery, we also need to invest, particularly in women of color, by providing women of color economic security of $5 million. Likewise, some businesses need technical assistance, and this bill provides that help for those businesses who need to understand how to do business, how to grow their business. If you look at the data, we have seen a 10% increase in new businesses that are open in the state of Minnesota. This is not simple for somebody who is facing some challenges to start a business and grow, and this is a great opportunity to support them. As I noted, Minnesota is a great place to raise family, to learn, to play, and to work. With that prospect, as Chair Marquardt had requested, the billboards that will go across different areas, we're creating a unique program to promote the state of Minnesota. I'm sure you have seen in different places when you hear people say, please join us. When you see the advertisement and the promotion from South Dakota, North Dakota, and Wisconsin, it's our time. It's our time to show that Minnesota is the best place to be. Within that process, we're also establishing Office of New Americans. We haven't invested in a way that we can show this place is a welcoming place. We have got Afghanistan refugees coming to the state. We have Ukrainians who are coming to the state. And there are many more who are coming. We have more than 200,000 jobs. I don't think the numbers we have here at 2.5%, we can close that gap. So we need to encourage people to come to the state. 2 days ago in Washington, I met Michael. Michael didn't know that I was from Minnesota. He was telling me that he wants to move to the state of Minnesota. So we need to encourage people like Michael to come to the state of Minnesota. We also want to encourage the families that we have seen who are resettling in the state of Minnesota to feel this is their place, their home, so that they can stay in this state. So with this new office, we will be able to establish that connection with the support of the VOLAGs. They're great organizations who do a great job in welcoming immigrants and refugees. The International Institute, the Catholic Charities, and so many. So we're investing resources that those newly arriving can hit the ground immediately and join the labor force. Members, Minnesota is ranked 50 out of 50. I know we are competitive, as I mentioned at the beginning, but when it comes to computer science, for those of us who value in getting a labor force that is more attuned to the technology industry, it's a time that we invest in tech, and this bill invests in tech training for careers in the technology industry for the youth. We also invest in workforce development to address the shortages that I just talked about by providing resources to the 16 regional local workforce boards. This will provide support to more than 50 career centers across the state so that we can allow and provide resources for reskilling, upskilling, and next skilling. This bill also creates the paid family medical leave. This is a broad-based, comprehensive, and inclusive program. Unlike many other programs, and I appreciate my colleagues for introducing a separate program, that shows that we made a progress. But now is the time. Now is the time for us to join many other states who have already established the program. The paid family medical leave will provide workers to bond with their newborn baby or adopted child, for pregnancy leave, to care for their loved one, for their own ailing or family members, as I noted, and also for safety leave. Members, this is a great program that will help many workers to stay in the labor force. This is a 12-week paid leave for the cost of less than a cup of coffee per week, which is covered by employers and also the workers. This enhances the family economic security. This improves retention and productivity for the workers. This will boost the labor force participation. Members, the paid family medical leave will address the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual care for many individuals, particularly for women. After having their baby, they need the time off, and we need to support them to get back to work. This reduces the infant mortality rates. This improves the health for all Minnesotans. Members, it's past time, and I believe we can do this. We do not want to be left behind by many other states. This is modeled out of the UI system, and for those who have been talking about IT systems that are not ready, I tell you this. We have seen how the system works, and we can really implement the new system. This is good for the small and also the small job creators that we've been hearing all over the day. Get this, if a small business provider or even a major business provider has got a unique program that provides the paid family medical leave, they can keep their program as long as it's better than the state of Minnesota or equal to the one which we are proposing.
I gotta go change clothes.
Members, please mute.
Members, this is a game changer for small businesses because it allows them to pool their resources with others so they can provide this great program for their workers. This bill also invests in childcare. We know the needs that exist. We know the families who are struggling to meet the needs for childcare. We're investing in Minnesotans. We're taking care of business. Members, this is a conversation that has been happening across the state. As I've noted previously, this bill is from the main street to the spreadsheets. As we know the needs for our constituents, we have asked them to join us. We've asked them to help us understand their needs. There are great programs in this bill. And with that, Madam Speaker, I will defer to my colleagues who partnered with me to develop this great bill. Thank you so much, Madam Speaker.
Members, we will vote on the DEA 4355 to put in the language that the author would like. And with that, all those in favor of the DE, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay.
Nay.
The motion prevails and the DE amendment is adopted. To the bill, I recognize the member from Kuchicheng, Representative Eklund.
Well, thank you, Madam Speaker. And first off, I want to start off with just a couple thank yous to my committee administrator, Nick Stuma-Longer. I appreciate all your help and guidance through the year. My CLA, Kevin Petrie. Can't get through without a good CLA, so thank you, Kevin. To our partisan researchers, Dave Sullivan and Harry Kennedy, thank you for the good briefs. I like to kid with Mr. Kennedy and say, I don't see Sully yet, can I have yours? But he hasn't given me one yet, but I try anyway. So, nonpartisan staff, fiscal, Helen Roberts, she does a great job on our spreadsheets, and of course, Marta James. I don't know how we'd put a bill together without being a go to those folks, so thank you. And then to the lead, Representative McDonald's not on the floor, but may the fourth be with you, Representative McDonald. I told you I'd say that. So, anyway, members, the labor and industry portion of the jobs bill sends a strong signal to the working men and women of Minnesota that we are here to support them. I have made it clear throughout this session that the working people in our committee's concern is with supporting the workers who keep our state strong. The themes that our bill is built around include worker safety across a variety of industries, support for workers given our state's economic surplus, and encouraging a better environment for workers in the state of Minnesota. Worker safety. This bill ensures that Minnesota OSHA standards conform to the federal penalties, keeps Minnesota OSHA under local control, and it is the responsible thing to do. This bill protects agriculture and food processing workers by creating the Agriculture Worker Wellness Committee and charging the committee to address workplace health and safety as they affect agriculture and food processing workers in growing, harvesting, and processing the food that's produced in our state. Ensuring fair labor standards to strengthen protections for migrant workers and others across our food industry. And finally, the creation of an ombudsperson in the Department of Labor and Industry to assist agriculture and food processing workers with issues specific to their industry. This bill increases the Logger Safety Grant Program by $500,000 to extend a popular program from last session. This bill also includes the oil refinery safety provisions that ensure that all workers at oil refineries in the state are part of a skilled and trained workforce that will increase safety for refineries and their local communities. This bill includes the contents of the warehouse worker safety bill that passed off the floor earlier this session to ensure that warehouse workers are not subject to undue surveillance and quota pressure from their employers. Supporting workers and encouraging better environment for workers in the state. This bill includes earned sick and safe time policy, the proposal as it passed off the House floor earlier this session to give all workers access to paid time off in order to keep our workplace healthy and safe. This bill includes funding $2.9 million for a construction license fee holiday for workers fueling our state's economic recovery. This bill provides $300,000 to build a stronger communities for a registered apprenticeship program that specifically focuses on BIPOC, women, and veterans to enter the building trades as a career. This bill includes two provisions to increase worker mobility and protect workers from restrictions on their ability to move jobs, including prohibiting non-compete agreements for most workers unless their former employer compensates them, prohibiting a no-poach clause in franchise agreements that prohibit a local franchise from hiring a worker who works at a different location of that corporation. This bill includes funding $747,000 to expand the youth skills training program at Department of Labor and Industry that brings together school districts, employers, and local organizations to provide paid employment opportunities for students 16 and older. This bill provides funding for the Public Employment Relations Board through the Bureau of Mediation Services to take up complaints of unfair labor practices, including public employers across the state. This bill creates a liaison for veterans in the Department of Labor industry to coordinate existing apprenticeship and career opportunities with veterans and recently discharged service members. In a nutshell, that's the labor portion of this bill. Madam Speaker, it's a good bill. I ask for your support, and I can stand for questions.
I recognize the member from Hennepin, Representative Long.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, we're in a critical moment for our climate and energy policy, and this bill takes important steps forward to advance our clean energy economy. The clean energy transition will mean more energy affordability, and this bill invests in weatherization, which can save households hundreds of dollars per year while creating local jobs across Minnesota. In fact, 2/3 of our weatherization funding goes towards greater Minnesota. But at our current rate, it would take 300 years to weatherize all eligible homes. And thanks to Representative Bierman, this bill takes really important steps forward in making a substantial investment in weatherization, allowing us at least to match Wisconsin, which is currently doing 3 times as much as we are. We also include Representative Rasmussen's securitization bill to help gas consumers afford extreme weather costs. The clean energy transition also means health benefits. We know that air pollution contributed to 10% of all deaths in the metro area and in cities like Rochester and St. Cloud. Moving towards electric vehicles and buses will help save lives. We include Representative Stevenson's bill to create policy frameworks to support electric vehicles. We include several electric vehicle infrastructure bills, including Representative Bierman's bill for state parks, Representative Lippert's bill for rest stops, and Representative Bowe's bill for a county government. Today we have with us Jean, who's an electric vehicle driver and who sees a real need for additional EV charging stations, particularly across greater Minnesota. And our bill would help us expand that network to greater Minnesota even more than we are. We also invest in electric buses with Representative Holland's provision for electric school buses and Representative Lee's provision for electric metro buses. And these expanded transit options are particularly important to Eleanor, who is a University of Minnesota student who was here today, because she's concerned about climate change as a young person and because she relies on transit to get around. We also are investing in more resilient infrastructure in communities. Representative Akam's bill is included in here to support extension investments for the University of Minnesota to help with our corn growers and other farmers to provide them better weather data. We include Representative Lippert's PACE loan expansion for innovative agricultural practices and Representative Lee's bill to study weather trends to help with future infrastructure design. Cities have also told us that they need help in planning for climate, both so they can do their part and so they can plan for future financial investments. And Representative Vang's bill that we include does that. We also know that climate change has disproportionate impacts on communities of color, and this bill takes climate justice seriously. It includes Representative Holland's bill to allow low-income advocates to be compensated at the Public Utilities Commission, Representative Richardson's bill to require utility reporting to ensure they are diversifying their workforces, Representative Holland's bill to require tribal consultation on energy policy, and it funds apprenticeship training with Unidos and the New Justice Project to help make sure we're diversifying our clean energy workforce, and includes Representative Holland's bill to help Minnesotans afford electric panel upgrades so they can be part of the clean energy economy. And finally, this clean energy transition means jobs. More than 55,000 Minnesotans work in energy efficiency and clean energy. One of those Minnesotans is here today, Daniel with the Future Builders Cooperative, who sees great potential for work in solar and weatherization. This bill will mean jobs across a wide range of skilled professions and industries, whether it's installing charging infrastructure, upgrading a building's energy efficiency, or installing energy storage systems. This bill expands clean energy deployment with Representative Ryer's Solar on State Infrastructure bill, more funding for Representative Akam's Solar on Schools program, Representative Pinto's bill for solar at the Ford site in St. Paul, and Representative Holland's package to promote energy storage. We also expand energy efficiency for buildings and including a stretch code provision for local cities and energy benchmarking provisions. We include Representative Stevenson's bill to remove outdated regulatory barriers to deploying clean energy And we include Representative Christensen's provisions to help communities that have legacy fossil fuel plants, supporting their transition and their economic development. And following Representative Listlegard's lead, we take the next step towards having our state create a Buy Clean and Buy Fair program to use public dollars to support companies doing the right thing by their workers and by the environment. We are making the right steps in this bill to advance our economy, to protect health, and to help Minnesotans afford their energy, and I look forward to the discussion today.
I recognize the member from Anoka, Representative Stevenson.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, members. I'm going to briefly outline the provisions in the bill relating to the Commerce Department, but before I do that, I do want to say thank you very much to all the members of the Commerce Committee. I think we had this biennium a fantastic committee that worked really collaboratively, and I really appreciate that. A special thank you to the Republican lead on the committee, Representative O'Driscoll, who I've had a phenomenal working relationship with over the last 2 years. And I think the good working relationship we've had in the committee is reflected in the bill that's before the body today, because it includes a number of provisions authored by members of the committee from the minority, including Representative Farr's excellent bill on continuing education, Representative Rasmussen's bill that reforms some provisions around debt collection, Representative Haley's bill that we actually carried last year as well about the geographic ratings on health care, and Representative O'Driscoll's bill building upon the work he did last year on appraisals. So thank you to all members of the committee who worked on this bill. I also would like to thank our amazing staff. I know that when we have these large bills come through, we really have an opportunity to express to the public about how lucky we are to work with such talented and dedicated professionals that we have here at the legislature. And so a special thank you to our nonpartisan staff who worked on this bill, our fiscal analyst Ashley Eng and our House researcher Lori Pompu. Also, we have caucus staff who do excellent work helping us get prepared. Eric Anderson and Casey Peterson, excellent bill briefs, excellent work on both sides of the aisle. Our committee legislative assistant, Jack Dockendorf, a rising star here at the Capitol. Members, remember that name. He'll be around doing exciting things for a long time, I think. And then our essential Simon Brown, who I just can't say enough about how valuable and brilliant Simon is. And I'm really grateful for having had the opportunity to work with him these last 2 years. Members, this is a very good bill. It contains some important provisions designed to implement some great consumer protections. In particular, it builds upon the great work we did last year related to the Student Loan Borrowers' Bill of Rights. Student loan debt, of course, is crushing people around the country and around Minnesota. It's the second largest source of debt in the country now, behind only mortgage debt, more student loan debt than credit card debt. And we passed a Student Borrowers' Bill of Rights last year. This year, we include a provision to create a student loan advocate, to reach out to students, to educate them, to hopefully get them out of trouble before they get into trouble. And that's a great bill. We also include a phenomenal bill from Representative Cagle that we're going to have on the floor, I think, later as a standalone, but we do have it in the bill today, related to structured settlements. Representative Cagle worked just in untiring fashion to achieve a compromise agreement that will protect people whose lives have been forever changed by accidents, and I'm very grateful for that. I do want to highlight a bill, another Republican bill that I think is one of my favorite bills of this session, actually, from Representative Robbins, dealing with the terrible impact that social media is having on our youth. This bill would ban social media companies from using algorithms to target content to youth, and in do so, hopefully stem the tide of eating disorders and other terrible mental illness that is afflicting our youth because of the impact of social media. And I've really enjoyed collaborating with Representative Robbins on that bill. Representative Richardson has a great bill continuing her work on catalytic converter theft. There was an article in the Star Tribune last week that I know a lot of members read, talking about how pernicious this problem has been around the metro. In my hometown of Coon Rapids, the Coon Rapids Police Department receives one report of catalytic converter theft every single day. And we have great reason to believe that oftentimes it goes unreported. So this is a real problem due to supply chain issues. If you have your catalytic converter stolen, oftentimes you can be without a car for 6 months. And for working families, that is a real barrier. Representative Richardson in this bill takes strong action that builds upon the great success we had last year in the Commerce Bill tackling this issue. We also, as a committee, devote substantial resources to tackling the broader issue of auto theft. We double the amount of money that goes into the Auto Theft Prevention Fund. We create a new equipment library that will allow smaller law enforcement departments outside of the core urban area to tackle this program with the most high-tech equipment that is available, and we fund overtime expenses related to auto theft as well. The last thing I do want to mention is the investments that we make in the Commerce Fraud Bureau, which is a very important agency inside the Commerce Department that is statutorily charged with investigating insurance fraud. Insurance fraud drives up the cost of insurance for everyone else, and it's very important that we do the amount of do the work that this department does. I talked to them in the interim and said, could you use more resources? They said that they could stand up a whole new unit to work on worker comp fraud and wage theft. Wouldn't you know it, there was an article in the Minnesota Reformer just today detailing a massive wage theft, worker comp insurance budding controversy crime, I think is maybe the way to put it, in the South Metro. Hundreds of thousands of dollars of lost wages for workers that were stolen from them. We need to hold the people who do that accountable, and that's what the Commerce Fraud Bureau is well suited to do. This bill gives them the tools to get the job done. It adds 5 new peace officer positions to the department and expands their jurisdiction so they can work also on financial crimes and not just insurance fraud. I think these are very important measures in today's world. So members, I think we have a very good common sense bill in front of you, and I look forward to answering questions.